Welcome to Jeremiah's Porch Talks. This is where we take a few minutes and talk about leadership and life, right from my front porch in Sykesville, Maryland. Rain or shine, this is a time for us to reflect, reset, and get ready for whatever comes next in our respective journeys. I'm Jeremiah. Thanks for joining me. Today, however, we've took the show on the road, and we're actually in Blacksburg, Virginia, getting ready to see a Metallica concert. That's right, baby, let's go. All right, let's start off. You know what I've noticed? We spend a lot of time telling people what to think, but not enough time showing them how to think. Now, I don't mean that in some sort of self-righteous or indignant manner. I've been guilty of it myself, trying to explain an outcome, giving advice, or sharing an opinion without taking the time to slow down and walk through the process that actually got me there. And let's be honest, thinking critical is very hard to do. Teaching it is even harder. But here's what's helped me. Teaching critical thinking as if it were a process. One of the best tools I've found to help people with their own critical thinking muscle is a framework called DMAIC, or DMAIC. It comes from Lean Six Sigma, which is often used for manufacturing and business. But don't let that scare you off. It works just as well for everyday problem solving, big life decisions, or group projects at work. And again, that's DMAIC. It stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Let me walk you through it. First of all, define the problem. Don't assume what it is. Ask, don't skip this step. Ask exactly what we're trying to solve. You'd be amazed how often people argue over the solutions before they've actually agreed on what the problem is. Second, measure. What can we do to actually measure the issue that we have? What do we know? What data or observations are available to us? Without something to measure, we're just guessing. And then comes analyze. This is the heavy lifting of the thinking. You start digging into the why. What's causing the issue? What's contributing to it? You look for root causes, not just surface symptoms. Improve, the next step, is where you start brainstorming options. You're not just reacting, you're responding. You're making choices based on your analysis, not just emotion or guesswork. And finally, control. That's what's making sure the solution actually sticks. How do we monitor progress? And what will we do to help things not slip again? Now, I'm not saying DMAIC is the only way. I'm saying it's a way, a structure, a path forward. And when you give people a process, something amazing happens. They become more confident. They start asking better questions, and they stop jumping to conclusions and start walking toward clarity. And here's the bigger point. The best way to teach people to think critically isn't to give them answers. It's to give them a map on how to do it. Show them how you navigate problems. Invite them into your thinking. Be humble about it. Make space for their... I've used DMAIC with teams, with teams. I've used it with mentees, and I've even used it with my own kids. Not always formally. Sometimes it's just in how I ask the next question. What do you think the real problem is? What do we actually know? Why do you think that's happening? What could we try next? And how do you know if it actually worked? Little by little, that's how people learn to think for themselves. So if you're a leader, a parent, a coach, a mentor, remember this. Teaching critical thinking isn't about having all the answers. It's about modeling the process. Find a method that works for you. Maybe it's DMAIC. Maybe it's something else. But give people a way to think. And then you would give them a way to lead. That's what this Porch Talk is about today. not just about passing on ideas, but passing on the tools to help others build their own. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me on today's Jeremiah's Porch Talk. Rain or shine, I'll see you next time. I'm looking forward to seeing Metallica, and always remember to keep the most important things the most important things.